The long night for a satanic death cult. The long night for a demonic revolt. And now Grace and Jax are stuck in this place and they won't be alright. Because Grace wanted to retrace her southern roots. And now she will not be able to see the light. Alright. The Long Night is a Shudder exclusive directed by Rich Ragsdale, who's done music videos and shorts. Written by Mark Young. Sounds almost like he should be a country star. He did Tooth and Nail and Limbo. Not Limbo Lost, not the video game Limbo, a 2019 film called Limbo. And also Robert Shep helped write this. This is his first credit. If it was not for Scout Taylor Compton, I would not have endured this 91-minute film that should have easily been 35 minutes in an anthology horror movie. I know it sounds like I've repeated myself constantly talking about how some, indie horror movies could have easily been in an anthology horror series, but honestly, this is such a bare bones idea that had a couple things that could have worked, had some nice imagery, had Scout Taylor Compton, who is fucking gorgeous and has had an interesting career. I enjoyed her in Starlight. While I fully admit that movie wasn't great, I thought she was quite good. Unfortunately, she couldn't say this. Nobody could say this. The plot, such as it is, involves her character Grace, who grew up in a foster home, and she lived in the South, and she wants to find a way to retrace her family heritage. And she talks to a guy named Caldwell, or Frank, and basically she has to figure out what the hell is going on. And he has this idea, hey, come stay at this house. I found this information and everything. I will give you this information. You got to come down here, though, and if I'm not there, there's a key under the flower pot, and just go in there with your husband or boyfriend, Jack, played by Nolan Gerard Frank. And that's not the only three, tiered name that we have. We also have Deborah Kura Unger. Paging Dr. Unger. Non-wrestling fans have no idea what I'm talking about. And 1996 Royal Rumble fans are absolutely dying laughing in the comments. So yeah, also Frank was played by King Orba. Orba! Retreat! Should retro-view G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra at some point. So yeah, they're in New York, Grace and Jack are, and they're a happy couple. And then there's this subplot that we actually don't get to see. He wants to introduce her to his parents in the Hamptons. So they go there. We don't see any of that. We get endless panning shots and we get endless walking scenes and a bunch of flashbacks and a bunch of stuff that's just repeat imagery to the point it's almost fucking exhausting. But we don't see him meet the parents. Probably because the budget wouldn't allow for that, because we had to have more snakes and more weird blood, and also Scout Taylor Compton looking very, very beautiful, and really that's all she was allowed to do. Well, she was allowed to scream, and she also was mimicking what the viewers were doing while watching The Long Night. So if you can't tell, I didn't really like this movie. In fact, I'm not going to lie, I pretty much fucking hated it. We don't get to see the trip to the parents, and that kind of causes a little bit of consternation, a little bit of hoopla. Everybody's upset, and by everybody I mean Grace, because he didn't stick up for her when the mother in particular was not very nice. But again, we only have the dialogue to go on because we couldn't afford to show that. So we get long panning shots through the woods, and the soundtrack is certainly a choice. It's not bad. The scenery is beautiful, and then we settle on the house after we have a little thing at a gas station where, oh, you're not from around these parts, are you? We take cash only here. We don't know what them there credit cards are. Also, you got to pay extra to have a lot of ominous buzzing music accompanying you through your trip through the woods to Grandma's house you go. Hey, there's also chapter breaks about ritualistic stuff because, yeah, it turns out there's this death cult that wants one of them. And if you can't figure out which one this death cult wants, I don't really think I can fucking help you. Grace. They want Grace. I'll get into spoilers here in a little bit, but it's pretty goddamn obvious. If she comes from a foster home, doesn't know who her parents are, and suddenly the satanic cult just shows up and just wants to do stuff, and not understand the whole point of Satanism, by the way, then, yeah, obviously they want Grace. But do they want 3 days Grace? Do they want 3 dog night? Did their mama tell them not to come? Maybe they did. We don't know. We didn't get to see anybody's mama in this goddamn thing. Or did we? So yeah, the movie's complete ass and wastes everybody's talents. especially Scout Taylor Compton, who I'm not saying is like an A-list, amazing, Oscar-worthy actress, but she's been better in stuff than this. And we just get images, we get snacks, no step on snack, and then we get glass in the foot, and we get violence, and we get a dead body, and then we're talking body, and if you got a perfect one, if you put it on me, this is necrophilia. If you love me right, we fuck for after life, on and on and on. Boy, I bet you didn't think you were going to get a Tovlo or Tovlo, however you pronounce that, reference in a horror review. Or really, for no goddamn reason. This movie doesn't have anything to offer besides Scout Taylor Compton and weird imagery. And it's also so goddamn obvious, painstakingly obvious where it's going, and it takes forever to get there. You didn't care up to the point of the build, and then by the time they reach the conclusion, oh, okay, this is what happened. Yeah, we assumed that much. We knew it. Why couldn't you get to it already? The long night certainly felt long. It felt like, the night would never end. It felt like, it comes at night. Boy, if only something else came at night. If only something else came. Like, lighter fluid from a particular, bottle all over this film, and they could have burned it and started over and maybe made it better than whatever this fucking thing was. So yeah, now I'm going to get into spoilers. The spoilers will not take very fucking long, by the way, but it's on Shudder if you want to check it out. Shudder has some good movies. This is not one of them, unfortunately. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So yeah, the chapters are like The Invitation. Chapter 1 is the 21st century house, or 21st century South. It's Scout Taylor and the 21st and a half century. Had the silly thing in reverse. It smelled like something died in here. Yeah, something did die in there. That guy Frank, yeah, you don't see him until he's a dead body later. And then, obviously, she is tied to this cult. The cult leader's her mother, by the way. I'm just going to spoil that right now because missing out on this, even in the spoiler section, will not haunt you even for 5 fucking minutes. And then there's the seduction as chapter 2. And I noted a couple times, my goodness, Scout Taylor Compton is gorgeous. Then after getting some glass in her foot and some weird cult people and this one guy getting killed, we're like, we need to leave now. But then the cult people are there. And one guy just does this and does and then points and does the weird, psychic power things, and he rips up the people, and this old guy named Wayne gets twisted around and all this, and then he gets killed. And then it's like if Your Next was directed by a sea cucumber, which is unfair because sea cucumbers actually maybe possess a little bit of intelligence and ingenuity because they're sea cucumbers and they don't try to do anything else, apparently because the sea is right over there on my goddamn floor. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, this old guy didn't know who the hell they were, but it turns out that Gage, or rather Frank Caldwell, but why they called him Gage, I don't know. Oh, he had a Gage shotgun behind him. That makes sense, I guess. And there we go. Also, there's something about the serpent. Uktana. It's a demon that was hidden on this property because the pilgrims worship this demon, and then Indians killed the pilgrims, and which frustrated John Wayne because he couldn't say one of his iconic catchphrases. A lot of things frustrated John Wayne, like brown people existing. Just read up on that, why don't you? But anyway, nevertheless, he God, John Wayne movies, boy, those are certainly something else. So yeah, since this Uktana serpent creature is there, obviously they need a pure vessel to bring it into a human form, and that's Grace. And also her husband or boyfriend or whatever ends up getting killed, but somehow isn't killed. He tells her to run, and she runs into the woods without shoes. They kill him, seemingly, or they don't. We go through a bunch of more chapters, leading up to the committal. This movie should have been committed, and then given shock therapy until it apologized for existing. And then we get we see weird imagery, and we see her naked with a antler man helmet on there, and also there's a light There's a light in the vulva town because it's a weird ritual thing that basically it's like we're bringing light to the world by making it the long night. Doesn't make sense. And, well, then there's some imagery brought to her by the master, who's her mother, played by Deborah. And then she's possessed. She kills everybody. kills Jack, and leaves. That's it. That is literally it. That is it for the entire movie. If I hadn't ranted a little bit, I probably could have cut this in half the goddamn time. It isn't very good. In fact, it sucks. It's one of the worst films of the year. And I know that I tend to be forgiving with some movies. If you're entertained, I don't really care. Unfortunately, this movie was neither entertaining nor scary, nor really anything that didn't make me want to sustain several major head injuries, and yet I would still be smarter than anybody that put this film together. So, agree, disagree what I said. It gets an F, by the way, in case you didn't fucking figure that out. But yes, F. Agree, disagree what I said. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.